In this video, you learn how to figure songs out by ear. Now, one of the greatest skills, without doubt, you will develop as a musician is the ability to work songs out using your ear. Hi, this is Simon Candy from Acoustic Guitar Lessons Online.net, and in today's video, I sit down with ear training specialist Dylan Andrews to discuss and demonstrate easy ways to work songs out using your ear and the many benefits this will bring to your guitar playing. We'll look at ways to work out chords and progressions in a song, as well as single note lines such as riffs and licks and melodies. Now, working songs out by ear is a learned skill. Anybody can do this, but you have a choice. You can go the trial and error approach, which is really difficult and may just end up not working out for you at all, or you can learn effective strategies that work every time and make working songs out by ear so much easier to do. So join both myself and Dylan here as we discuss and demonstrate the best ways to approach learning songs by ear. Let's get to it. Let's say we're trying to work out a chord progression. So typically, if I'm trying to work out a chord progression, I tend to listen for the root movement in the chords, right? Let's say we've got a chord progression that goes something like this, right? We've got a C, a G, an A minor, an F. Then I'm going to try and, I'm going to try and find the root note of the first chord.
Right.
So humming the note. So your voice plays a big role here. So when you're trying to work out a note, you want to be able to hum the note that you're trying to find. So if I'm hearing a C chord, I don't know it's C actually, right? It's just a chord at this point.
Right.
But I'm trying to define where the root note is, and then I'm trying to find that note on the guitar, anywhere on the guitar. I just want to know what the root note of the chord is, or the bass note of the chord is. And once I find that, then I can define whether it's major or minor, or other, whatever it might be. And then I would go to the next chord, and I would look for find where that note is. And if I have the note in my ear and I'm here, okay, instead of just thinking, oh, that's wrong, and just randomly going to some other place on the fretboard, I want to make a choice as to whether I'm too high or too low. We're relating the pitch that we're playing at the time to what we're trying to find.
Right.
So if I'm trying to find and I'm here, I know it's too high, so I've got to go down as opposed to up. Okay, yes. So I'm not just randomly just trying to find the note and going in all different directions. You've kind of got to assess what it is, whether it's right or whether it's too high or too low. It only stays in your ear for so long, right? It's going to kind of go quickly. So the speed thing.
Very quickly. Yeah, it goes away. As soon as you start hearing other chords, like if you're trying to figure out what the first chord was and then you hear the second chord, it immediately is going to diminish a bit. Yeah. Right. So that's why when you're very new to figuring out songs, one of the best things to do is just to listen to one chord or one note and hit stop.
Yeah.
And then just sing that or try to find that on the guitar. And that's a good first step, right? So this is still kind of working out the notes by trial and error, but if you're very new to it, just working out the bass notes, exactly like you said, I do the exact same thing. When I'm listening to music, I'm just listening to the root movements. But that's a great first start. It's just to take a little bit, because as soon as another chord or other notes are introduced, that your ear starts to pick up on other things, so you lose it really fast.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm there, stopping it immediately after whatever it is I'm trying to work out, chord, note, whatever it is. Sometimes, particularly when it's a bit of a quicker succession of chords or notes, particularly, just got to start. As soon as it even goes to the next note, you can lose it. So you just got to stop it and then hum the note, try and keep it in your ear. You might have it for a few seconds, and as soon as you play a note and it's not correct, it will dilute that sound a little bit too. So back you go, and you might be back and forth a number of times before you actually even just get the root note, particularly early on. So expect that, right? That's going to occur. But then you want to find, and then you might want to try and play the note at the same time as it happens on the recording and see if it fits, if you're not too sure. And then you would move on to the next root note and then see if you can find that, and then maybe play the first two and kind of, you you move through in that sort of fashion, right?
Yeah, exactly. And one thing that can really help is when I'm listening to a piece of music, the first thing I try to find out is which chord is going to be the one.
Yeah.
So that way I can figure out what key it's in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're figuring out songs by ear and you can't just listen to a chord progression and know what's going on yet, I would listen to what chord feels like home, what chord feels like the song can be finished on that. It feels has a lot of resolution to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can pick up your guitar, just listen to that, and then find what it is. So let's say you found that it was a C, and then it's a C major. So if you know that it's the key of C major, and when you're trying to figure out other chords, instead of looking at the entire fretboard, well, if you know the scale, now there's only 7 options, right? And the 7th chord is diminished, so depending on the type of music you listen to, you probably only have 6 options. So it makes it a lot easier to transcribe songs when you can figure out what the key is, or at least if you can figure out if it's major or minor.
Because I mean, you could work songs out by ear with no fretboard knowledge, no theory knowledge. It would be a little,
You can.
but the theory and the
Yeah.
fretboard stuff is really going to help. I mean, that's half of it almost. Is it gives you all this information and points you in the right direction. So instead of trying to find your way to a destination without a map saying, you just go walk off in one direction and hope that you hit it and not there, and you keep just maybe eventually you'll end up at this destination maybe 10 hours later. Whereas if you've got a map that's sort of saying, well, this way, that way, you can get there in 5 minutes, right? So there's knowledge that you're equipped with to go with your ear that allows you to get the note much, much quicker. It's not just simply hearing the pitch and finding the pitch. The other thing I would say, coming back to finding root movements and single notes and so forth for chord progressions, is to just find it on a single string, like the bottom string. Because if you just restrict yourself to a single string, you either go down or you go up in pitch. If you're moving from string to string, you're also then going up and down strings. And while, if I have a chord progression down here I'm trying to work out, I find the roots here. So I know, okay, it's C, it's A, it's G, it's F, but I know they're open chords, so then I'll play them as open chords. But you might just find the roots of the chords first and then decide where you're going to play it on the guitar, depending on what the chord progression is. That might be a bar chord progression, so you'll play them as bar chords or whatever it might be. But that's the other thing, your ear starts to hear the type of chord it is. You can hear open chords versus bar chords. You can hear when something's capoed, it's got a particular resonance about it, it's higher up, and these things come with experience, right? Yeah,
it comes with experience and just really transcribing a lot of songs. You know, when you get in the habit of just transcribing song after song, your ear starts to pick up on these things where it's obvious that it's open chords just because of the sustain of the chords and the way that they're sounding, but I completely agree, it's just finding the root notes on either one string or max the 5th and 6th string, and then deciding where you feel like it's being played. If it's bar chords, open chords, sometimes it might only be chords that are using strings 1 through 3 if it's really high up, but finding the root notes is the best. And the few stages that I go through is just listening first off for the one chord, and I determine if it's a major or minor key, which is usually pretty easy because you can just determine, is this a happy or uplifting feeling song or more of a serious down song? And then once I know what the key is, then I just listen for the root notes. And then let's say that I think that it's going to a 5, the 5 chord. Well, the 5 chord is supposed to be major, so I listen out for that, and if it's major, then I'm good. If it's minor, that means I'm wrong. So listening out for the root notes, but then listening out for which chords are major and minor will just give you more clues. One of the key things about learning songs by ear is knowing theory. Theory helps you so much, and there's just all these little clues you can go through, like was it major or minor? Did that go by a half step or a whole step? It's all these little things. If you understand the theory, it helps you transcribe music a lot more efficiently.
The other thing is, the theory, absolutely, and there's just so many, there's chord progressions that are used all the time, right? I mean, your 1 to your 5 to your 6 to your 4 is going to be half the songs you ever hear.
Yeah. I would start, if you're training your ear, I would start off with 1, 5, 6, 4 in
Yep.
any order. No
Yes.
matter what order you put that in,
Yep.
it is hundreds, if not thousands of songs. If
Mm.
you could just identify those four, then you can transcribe probably the majority of music you're listening to. It's really encouraging too when you realize that
Mm.
is a lot of times people think if I'm going to be able to transcribe songs, this means that I need to know a mountain of stuff. I need to spend years training.
Yeah.
And, you know, training your ear does take time, but it's not as overwhelming as you might think. You just start off with those four and you've made like a huge leap, you know, to transcribing music. And the majority of the time I'm listening to music, it's 1, 4, 5, 6 in any order.
Yeah.
You know, that's turn on the radio, that's all it is.
You're probably going to hit a song that's using that, right? Let's say we're working out single notes here. We're talking about chords a bit, and if we have knowledge, for example, if I've got a chord, a song, let's say that's using C, G, A minor, F, it's 1, 5, 6, 4 in C, and there's a riff or a solo, I know probably it's going to be coming from C major pentatonic, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
more C major, but if it's a rock sort of pop song, guitar orientated, it's probably pentatonic. And if you know the key, you know where to go. So I'm not looking at all these notes and magically guessing where they are. I know that it's going to be probably one of 5 notes, and I've
Yeah.
got patterns, even just one pattern on the fretboard. You'll find those notes, they're there, and you get
Yeah.
more and more familiar with the same moves, you know, the same things. Nothing's really completely unique.
No, it's over and over. The chords are done over and over. The solos, the same licks will be played over and over and over, just in different contexts and played in a different way. But yeah, it's because musicians are reusing, which is good, a lot of things that other players have played. It makes training your ear not as overwhelming, because you'll start recognizing different licks and different songs, and yeah, knowing different patterns helps a lot too on the guitar. Because when I'm listening to a song or I'm listening to a solo, in my mind I'm shrinking the guitar, like you said. Like, I'm not thinking it could be anywhere. I'm thinking of a small area that it could be, but based on the key, and then it makes figuring it out a lot easier, a lot more simple.
And you start, as you work on guitar orientated music, you start to hear, I mean, initially, if we're just getting started with this, you just want to find the right pitches, right? Just find the notes, even just on, you know, wherever on the guitar.
Right.
But if you can relate it to a pattern, you can almost predict what's going to happen next in a lot of cases, as you get into something. But you want to find the pitches of the notes. Then a sort of refined level or a deeper level is how are those notes being played. So as we listen more to guitar music, you can hear when, for example, a note is, or a couple of notes, let's say, whether they're both being picked with a plectrum because you can hear the attack on the notes, or if it's a slide, you'll learn to hear slides on guitar if you don't already, or can't get it on the acoustic, but
that was
a good string here.
That's good, man. Yeah.
All good here. So
that's hard on an acoustic.
So you can hear when a note's being bent,
Right.
even when it's quick. You know, you hear the timbre of the note and the you know, all the microtones when you bend a note versus sliding versus picking versus hammering on. All these, you know, phrasing elements you start to be able to identify.
This was a problem I came across when I was really first trying to transcribe music, is I would transcribe guitar riffs or solos, and all the notes would be exactly right, but it didn't sound right. And it was because I wasn't listening for, well, did they just play that note or did they bend into that note? Was there vibrato there? It's once you figure out the notes, you're not done. You have to figure out exactly how they're playing the notes, how hard they're attacking. Did they just strike one string, or do they rake some others and then hit it? So yeah, when you figure out the notes, you need to go in deeper and make sure that now you're playing it exactly like the guitar player played it, if you want to replicate it perfectly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a big part. That's the final touches that makes it sound so good.
In your opinion, Dylan, or thoughts on where to begin? Like, are there certain types of songs that you might recommend to work out by ear?
As far as genres go, like pop is usually a good genre to be in when you're transcribing music, because usually it's 3-4 chords, a lot of songs. Rock is really good about that too, depending on who you're listening to. I wouldn't recommend like jazz or fusion or music like Dream Theater, because that's like way advanced trying to figure that out by ear. One thing that I've done is I've just looked up songs that only have 2 or 3 chords in them, and this is a great place to start, and then you just try to listen to it and transcribe it. And you just go through the list. There's hundreds and hundreds of songs that only have 2 to 4 chords in them. And you can practice those, and the majority of them will be the 1, 4, 5, 6 that we were talking about earlier. And I would just listen to them, and whether you like that style of music or not, it doesn't matter, because this is just training your ear to get to the point where you can transcribe the music that you like. But what I did is, one thing is, don't pick up your guitar. When you listen and you're trying to transcribe a song, first just try to listen to it, try to find out what chord feels like the one, and then just make a guess at what you're hearing. Like, is it the 1 chord, is it the 5th chord of the key? And if you have no idea, then just do your best, and then you can pick up your guitar, figure it out note by note, and figure out what it was. And when I first started doing this, I was wrong a lot. So what I would do is I would play what I thought it was, and then I would play what was correct, so that my ear could hear what it actually was. So I would say that just looking up songs that have very few chords, the best thing is if it's just 3 or 4 chords that go through the entire song. There are songs with only 2 chords. They are definitely out there. If you want really easy ones, like Imagine Dragons has a 2-chord song. They're very, very simple songs. But starting with simple songs like that is going to be a huge help.
Even just basic nursery rhymes, just single line melodies that,
Absolutely.
it doesn't matter what it is. You're not trying to work out something that you're going to go perform to someone. You're just practicing the skill of hearing something and finding it on your guitar. That's essentially what's happening at the foundation. So if it's, sometimes you can just get something that's got a really defined melody that's very simple. Nursery rhymes, these sorts of things are quite simple, and you can just find the melody and find it on it, as was said, on a single string. Don't worry about how it's being played at this point, or where it's being played. Just if you reduce it to a single string, any string, but stay on that string, you've only got 2 choices. You don't sort of then have to make a choice of, complicate it with the moving from one string to another. If you like this video, you'll love this ebook complete with video examples called 10 Melodic Fingerpicking Patterns You Can Learn in 10 Minutes or Less. Do you struggle to make the fingerpicking patterns you learn on guitar sound like music? Perhaps it's because you believe in one or more of these fingerpicking pattern myths. 1. You need to know a lot of patterns to have your fingerpicking sound musical. 2. Only advanced fingerpicking patterns sound musical. Easy patterns are too basic to sound any good. Or 3. There is a magic pattern out there somewhere that once found will finally have your fingerpicking sound the way you want it to. None of these myths are true. This is because fingerpicking patterns alone are not musical. They're technical. It's what you do with the patterns that will determine how musical they sound. In this ebook, you learn how to make the most boring fingerpicking patterns sound amazing instantly. Plus, the simple trick to make advanced fingerpicking patterns easier to play, and the thumb and 1 finger trick that's so simple and will have your fingerpicking sounding pro in no time. Click the link in the description below this video and download your free ebook complete with video examples, 10 melodic fingerpicking patterns you can learn in 10 minutes or less. You'll have it in your inbox within minutes. Let me know in the comments below this video what acoustic guitar topics you'd like to see covered in future videos. Do you have ways you like to work songs out by ear? What's worked for you? Let us know. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, then hit that like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and of course hit the all-important notification bell button so YouTube can tell you when I've released a new video. This is Simon Candy from AcousticGuitarLessonsOnline.net. Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.